Welcome to Pop Scott Podcast. My name is Tarek.
I'm Ivan.
What's your name, brother?
Riyadh, but I'm originally from Gaza.
You're from Gaza.
I'm from Gaza, originally from
Best
Gaza.
guy to have on here. It's talk about
Exactly,
this,
right? I like to think of myself as a bit of not a neutral, obviously, because I've got my family in Gaza. I've got the background. I know exactly what's happening there. I actually have family there right now that are going through the suffering and all that. But I've been in Australia for almost 10 years. I've studied in English schools. So I mixed a lot with Westerners. I've mixed a lot with the ideology, the upbringing, and how they were nurtured and taught about this whole situation or problem. So I think I can bring a bit of an interesting perspective around both sides of the story and be truthful and factual with what I'm saying, because I think that's the key thing here.
So what do you think about the conflicts going on right now? Do you want to talk about the history, or do you want to talk about right now?
I can talk about right now. I can talk about the history, but in terms of what's happening right now, obviously it's extremely sad on both sides. It's tough to see people go through misery and pain. It's never easy. Even if obviously I'm biased, right, because I'm from Gaza. Even if you are an Israeli citizen, no civilian should die in war. It's tragic, it's sad. There's always family, there's always people who will mourn that death, and that's something that I don't wish on anybody. Obviously on the Palestinian side, the death tolls are much higher, much larger as well, and it's been the case for many years, right? It's been shoved under the rug for almost 100 years now, 106 years, and I think that's because people don't care enough about the Palestinian problem. Because I'll be honest with you, if I was living in Australia, which I am, if I was had no ties whatsoever with the Palestinian people, why should I care? It's not my problem. It's not what I should be.
It's a human empathy side of it.
It's a human empathy, right? But not everyone will be able to empathize with them, and I do understand that. So I think in the position that the Gazan people are at now, they've got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing. They have no political power. They have no state. They have no army. They have no voice in the UN. They're not even recognized as a member of the UN. And I think that's something where the only thing they could do is make their voices heard, right? Yeah. They have TikTok videos. They've got YouTube videos. They tell their problems. They communicate their stories from time to time. But nothing really gets their attention as something like a war or a fight that unfolds. And I think that's what caused Hamas to do what they did. It's the oppression, it's the years and years of being locked into an open air prison. It's something that no human should ever go through. When you cage an animal, they go mad. They either die early, they go through depression. It's not natural for them to do that. And when you squeeze nearly 2 million people into a small area, I'm just talking potentially between, North Sydney and, South Sydney. It's not even that large of an area. And you're squeezing that much people in there. It's not a way for you to live. And people have dreams, people have goals. And when you say to somebody that you are born into this area, you're never going to go anywhere, you're never going to leave, what's the point in living, right? Your life is worthless. You're never going to achieve anything. No matter how hard you try, no matter how intelligent you are, how smart you are, you won't be able to share that with the world. So I think people have just reached a point where they don't even value their lives anymore. There's no point. I might as well sacrifice my life to let people listen to my problem. I just want to be heard.
The cry for help. I think we definitely feel that as long as the war's been going on, there's definitely a tipping point to what's been happening in the past few weeks, because it does feel like the whole world is closely watching. Do you think that's just due to the scale of what Hamas did to start this, new strain of events? Or is it related to, let's say, maybe the time we're in now? Like you talked about TikTok and how accessible a lot of this content and what we can see on the other side of the world. Like, it just feels a little bit different what's going on over the past few weeks. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, great question. And I do think that it's different this time around. I think the scale of the attack is definitely a factor, but I don't think it's the only factor. Right. When you look back at the last 10 years or so, the Black Lives Matters movement definitely is a factor of how people are reshaping and rethinking about the whole Palestinian problem, because now people have access to information. They have access to the internet. They can see with their own eyes what's actually happening, what's true and what's not true. and people are becoming more aware, more self-aware, and they're not brainwashed by the media, and the whole thing about fake news is picking up momentum. People are just more woke now, right?
Yeah.
So these things that they've been fed and told and taught in schooling systems, education, by the media, by other people, people are now more willing to challenge. And I think that's what's causing people to recognize the problem more, because it's now, well, hang on a second, Israel is saying they didn't actually bomb the hospital. But when you actually look at the facts and you look at how much damage was caused, Palestinian people have never held weapons of that mass destruction. That sort of attack is something Palestinians can't even smuggle. That's impossible. That size of a rocket, that magnitude, is not something Palestinians have ever had.
Well, how about from the perspective of, like, in this latest attack, there's been a lot of news around how Iran has been a great supporter of Hamas in terms of supplying them with weapons, and potentially weapons that are capable of committing such a large-scale attack. Do you think, you said traditionally, like in the past, they never had that capability, but maybe in this latest attack they could, because they have that Iran support?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair comment. I think what Iran is doing is obviously they have a very strong position.
Yeah.
Iran has been the enemy of America for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think what the world, or what Israel and America are trying to paint, they're trying to paint a picture that Iran is the enemy in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there was no such conflict that existed. If you look back 20, 30 years ago, this division between Sunni and Shia Muslim and this whole Iran being an enemy is absolute bullshit. This is only something that came about because America said it, Israel is saying it, and they want to create a reason to create conflict in the Middle East.
I heard
Iran is the reason.
Oh, yeah, sorry, man.
No.
I heard recently that there was some speculation that one of the reasons for this recent attack was that America and Saudi Arabia kind of becoming more friendly, and there's some deals going on there, and Iran wanted to intervene and kind of stop this. And so to force Saudi Arabia's hand to appear like you don't want to be supporting the oppressors, you attack Israel with you support Hamas to attack Israel, and then that kind of paints a picture of like an unsupportable position for Saudi Arabia. So that kind of deal between the two countries comes off. I'm not sure if that's true at all.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah. I think you're talking about the peace deal between Saudi and Israel, right? Yeah. So look, like I said at the beginning, the Palestinian problem is no one's real problem, right? This is if I'm a Saudi citizen, if I am the leader of Saudi, why should I care, right?
Yeah.
They're Arabs, cool. They're Muslims, cool. But so is the relationship between, I don't know, say Brazil and Portugal, right? They speak the same language. Yeah. Most of them are Christian. Why should I care if something happens in Brazil?
Yeah,
so
you're
it's
your
the
own
same sort
people. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the same scenario. That's what I think. And the Palestinians have an expectation that all Arabs should lean in and support, because the way that Arabs are, and this is something that is a little bit different to Western culture, Arabs are generally very close to each other. We're very family oriented, so we expect to help each other. There's an expectation there, so that's why there is a massive expectation from the Palestinians to get support from the neighboring Arab countries. But I think this deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel is purely for economic benefit, commercial benefit as well. I think that the Saudi prince is very smart. He's very intelligent, and he knows that war will result in conflict. He will not be able to prosper, and he wants to be a power, a superpower, just like how the U.S. is, just like how Russia is. He wants to be that, but in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And he won't be able to achieve that without having peace around him.
Yes.
So he wants to do that. If you ask any Saudi citizen, 99% of them will tell you, we do not like Israel. We don't want any affiliation with Israel.
Yeah.
But the Saudi prince is doing that because he knows this is the only way that he'll be able to reach that position of power that he wants to reach. So I think what Hamas did wasn't really to prevent that. I don't think they actually wanted to stop that deal from happening, but more so to make a point that remember that we are in a position where we are absolutely suffering. The way that we're living today is not a life to be lived in. And whatever peace deal you agree with Israel has to ensure that the Palestinian people get the same level of rights, same level of living standards as the Israelis, because history erases everything. When you don't hear about the conflict in the media, you just think, yeah, people are just living their lives, it's cool, everyone's fine. So something like this does happen from time to time, unfortunately. Every couple of years, you'll always see a conflict happening between Israel and Palestine. And this is no different. This had to be the biggest one because of all the events that have unfolded, right? And everything that has happened.
Yeah.
I think
Pressure builds. Yeah.
I think given the scale of what happened now, I really do hope that in the future, some sort of peace happens. It's probably the most difficult problem that has ever been faced to humanity.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't think in humanity there's ever been a problem with at this difficulty, because I sympathize with the Jewish people.
Yeah, I can tell. And you earlier in the interview, you actually said you consider yourself somewhat neutral, but not completely neutral. It's very interesting because you have family in Gaza. It's obviously a topic you're very educated about. Just for our benefit, what is your overall stance on both sides and what you would want to happen in the future?
Do you think Israel deserves to have land in that area in general?
Yeah, no, good question. So I think let me be clear.
Yeah.
Jewish people, I have no issue with Jewish people whatsoever.
Yeah.
I actually had a Jewish girlfriend for a little while. So I have no issue with Jewish people whatsoever. What I have a problem with is Zionism and being a Zionist. A Zionist is somebody who believes that they are entitled to a piece of land, whereas a Jewish is just somebody, it's just a religion, right? So in terms of what I feel about Israelis, I think that their history, Jewish people, their history, they went through absolute worst kind of torture or worst type of suffering any sort of human could go through. The Holocaust is an example of that, and I agree with that. I think that's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that happened. So I do sympathize with Jewish people, and I do feel like what happened to them in the past is making everybody today, every single country today, be very, very careful with what they say about Jewish people and Israelis, because everybody condemns what happened back then. So you don't want to see a country like Germany or any of those European countries coming in and saying these people have done the wrong with how they're treating the Palestinians, because they've been treated the way that Palestinians are being treated now. So everyone's sort of conscious about that. Everyone's walking on eggshells. And I do understand that. But I think the narrative needs to change. The perspective needs to change. It's been over 100 years now, and people need to reshape the way they think about this whole problem. Israel today is one of the most powerful countries in the world. They have a duty to themselves to be able to use the power that they have, the intellect that they have, the resources that they have, to allow people to prosper. If the ancestors of the Jewish people now see how Israel is treating the Palestinians, I bet you no single Jewish person would be comfortable with what Israel is doing now. The reason why Hamas did this attack was because of the way that they've been living. If there was a solution put forward to this way earlier in the problem, Hamas would never willingly fight Israel. Hamas would never want to just kill Jewish people. That's Arabs. There's Jewish Arabs, Jewish people have lived alongside Arabs and Muslims for thousands of years.
Yeah.
This idea of Muslims wanting to kill Jewish people is absolutely bullshit.
If you were like Hamas side, or like if you're a Palestinian lawmaker, if you could make every decision that you wanted to make, if you were to try to solve this crisis without violence, how would you go about doing that?
Look, it's
a very hard question, by the way.
it's a very hard question, and I'll tell you that I don't know what the answer is. I think that there's three possible solutions, right? One is a two-state solution. Two is a one-state solution. And three is continuing what is going on now, but with clarity and with freedom and extra rights for Palestinian people. Now, if you look at the two-state solution, that was actually proposed when the whole Israeli settlement started and the 1948 colonization of Palestine began. a solution was put forth by the UN where they divided Palestine, which was actually called Palestine back then, into two countries. Israel would own half, Palestine would own the other half. The reason why the Arabs rejected it back then was because of, if you looked at the split between, if you look at the map as around how it was split, Israel had a much stronger advantage because they were the connecting point between Europe and the Middle East.
All the exports and trade to the rest of the world.
Exports and trade. They owned a lot of the borders between the key countries as well, so Egypt and Jordan. And they owned a lot of the more prosperous areas back then, the more built-up areas. So it wasn't something that the Palestinian people were going to be okay with, even with the fact that it's actually their country and they should own all of it. So I think that sort of discussion or that sort of proposal should resurface. I think things have changed now. People are now been living in a completely difficult situation where they'll be more accepting and probably agree to a solution where it's split half and half. I think Israel won't like that now, same way how the Palestinians didn't like it back then.
Somebody has to give up something.
Somebody has to give up something to ensure that there is absolute peace between two countries. But I understand why Israel wouldn't be comfortable with that because, well, they'll say, what's going to stop the Palestinian people from building up an army and then attacking us one day, unifying with the Arab world, etc.
So slippery slope argument, yeah.
Exactly. So I think with that two-state solution, there's so many different levers that need to be pulled, and people need to have complete standardization and articulate exactly what the requirements are. I think that's a very difficult problem to solve, and a lot of people need to be involved. One-state solution. And this is not a favorable thing amongst Palestinians.
Yeah,
people from Gaza don't agree with this, but it's one possible solution that I see as well. Israel to absorb Gaza and the West Bank, and at that point, and this is a bit of a controversial one because I'm pro-Palestinian. I think what will happen is Palestinian people, if they are given the rights, if they are given the rights, they're given the passports, they're able to live like the normal Arabs of 48, which are the original Palestinians who moved to Israel. They will live on their own. They will live by their own rights and have peaceful living. But Israel will not accept that because Arabs in general have more kids than Westerners. So over time, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, the Israeli population is going to be more Arab Jews or Arab Muslims than Israelis. And Israel wouldn't want a one-state solution because of that. That's why they're pushing all the Palestinians to the borders.
Out of the two, is there one that you think is more likely or that you would prefer personally?
I think
two-state solution.
I think obviously a one-state solution for me, if my theory is correct, and long-term the Palestinians will own the land because Jews used to live within Palestine, and they used to live a happy life. My parents and my family had neighbors who were Jews. They had no issues at all, so I think a one-state solution will be the best thing forward for everybody. Two-state solution, I think that's a much, much, much more difficult problem to solve. So I don't see that being something that can be discussed, to be honest with you.
All right, we should probably wrap up, but any final words, any final thoughts in 30 seconds or less? Your key message you want to get out there?
No, I appreciate, again, like what you guys are doing here is really awesome, and I appreciate you doing this. The last thing I just want to say is no one is a winner at war. Everyone is a loser at war. We just want to make sure, as a Palestinian person, as a person from Gaza, I want people to be understanding of our situation, not be brainwashed by the media. Fact check what you read. Everything is so easy to fake nowadays. Listen to the sources. Be sure. If you're not sure, just ask somebody. Just be accepting as well of what's going on with the Gazan people. Let them demonstrate their frustrations. But at the same time, I do hope that everybody should live in peace, and I do not agree with war. So, that's all I have to say, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to Papa Squad Podcast, man. My name is Ivan.
I'm Tarek.
Yeah. What's your name?
Fatty.
Betsy. Where are you from, man?
I'm from Vietnam, fam.
Oh, Vietnam.
Yeah.
Oh, when did you come to Australia?
About 7 years ago.
7.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you do here?
I'm doing sales.
Sales.
Yeah.
You actually you have the haircut of a salesman.
That's what I'm saying, man.
What do you?
Scam people money, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. What do you sell?
Liquor, but I used to do many different types.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any recommendation on getting into the liquor business?
Get smashed first so you know every alcohol, you know?
Understand your product. This guy agrees. Yeah, for sure. Today we wanted to talk about Palestine and Israel. You know what? Do you have any idea what's been going on lately in the news about that?
Yeah, it's just typical war, innit? Like, you got like Ukraine and like Russia before, like.
Yeah.
Every season there's a new war, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
something gotta be strapped here all the time.
This year more than normal, right? More years than normal.
Yeah, there's been a lot of war this year, but also the Palestine versus Israel war is not a new war. I mean, it's almost been, it's
Almost
been
100 years,
Yeah,
right?
100 years. It's probably the longest war, but it's really escalated in the past few weeks. You're obviously aware of what's
Yeah.
happened specifically in the past few weeks?
It's on Twitter, yeah, there's like news every single day about it.
Yeah, it's like almost too much.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, how do you feel about it? Do you feel sad? Do you feel angry? Do you feel nothing?
I feel like regardless of what age we're in, there's always a constant war going on.
Yeah.
There's always got to be something going on so people can actually make money of it.
Yeah.
If there's no war, how can country actually exchange like $1,000 billion to Ukraine and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
So you think there's a business reason behind the war?
There's always a business reason. It's been going on for thousands of years, fam.
So what's the business reason with this one in Israel and Palestine, you think?
Same old. It's just different. It's like a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Different season, different character, you know what I mean? Gotta make it up.
Selling rockets and guns and...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's the same product, it's just a different people who sell it.
You know, you say you're from Vietnam, right? And
Yeah.
Vietnam famously went through a big war.
Yeah.
War affects the people for a long time, many generations, and affects your parents and their kids and their kids. Do you feel some type of way about war? Do you think differently than other people because you come from Vietnam?
First and foremost, shout out to Vietnam, bro.
Shout out.
Shout out Vietnam.
1975, bro. We beat America with rock and fucking arrow.
Fuck those guys up.
But like shit. Basically, I don't know, cause in my family we don't really give a fuck because
Yeah.
our really focus is like okay, make our own money,
Yeah.
do our thing. As long as we take care of ourselves, who care about holding on to the past? You know what I mean?
So
Sell some Ciroc.
do you feel any pain or any feelings towards other people in the world who are in the war? So even though the two countries might be fighting with each other for the purpose of money,
Yeah.
what about the people who they're losing their lives? Have you seen much in the news or photos and images? Like, how does it make you feel?
It's bad, right? Because obviously I saw like video, a dad even carried like their children body part and stuff like that. But it's the thing like this, right? People are dying every day. There's constant war. There's war in Syria. There's war in Blood Diamond, Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
But now you just know about it because of the media. So what's the difference? People constantly dying. What can you do about it?
Do you think certain wars get more attention than others? Why do you think that?
Certain war don't get more attention than others. Certain war are designed to get more attention than others. So in that way, it's like certain government or media want to focus on one certain war.
Why would the government want the war to be more publicized?
Because think about it, right? Everybody constantly need to be distracted by something.
Right.
So if you constantly stay up free and like fuck, like there's always a war going, I might lose my life. You cannot really feel focused on yourself.
Right. It's a way to control people.
It's just a way to control people. That's all way to control people.
So you think that there always needs to be some sort of like conflict going on in the world to kind of have some fear or something like that?
There's always been war going on in the world.
Yeah, it's constant in humanity.
We need that.
Yeah, I understand.
We don't need that, but they need it.
Maybe it's like human nature or something.
It's not even human nature. It's a way just to make money. You know what I
I see.
mean? But it's the biggest industry. You're looking at $1 billion industry right now.
Yeah. Do you feel one way or the other more than the other? One side or the other side, or no opinion?
How far do we want to go?
As far as you like.
We're on that Kanye West level.
Sure. Go.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I don't know, man, because like think about it, right? Obviously, like Jewish people been known for over like thousands of centuries. Every country that they went to, they've been expelled from that country, and nobody want to accept them. There's got to be a reason why, right? But then again, I don't really blame them, because I do feel like it's not really their fault, Israel's fault. It's actually the overall, the bigger structure that plan to do this for, again, to make money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the design of the worlds rather
Yeah.
than just them.
Just wait 3 months, there's another war.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you have any view on how you see the Palestine versus Israeli war coming to an end?
The war in Ukraine and Russia is still going on, but people seem like forget about it, innit? So it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same story. It's gonna be another war in the future soon,
Yeah.
but then we're gonna forget there's still a war in Syria. And
How do you think this one in Israel and Palestine will end?
I just know they're gonna make a hell of money from it.
Interesting. All right.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, bro. That was great.
Thank you for your time.